So hey guys, welcome to another video, and as you probably all know, the live Q&A with Ian Hazzikostas happened this Saturday. Unfortunately, I was very busy this weekend, so I couldn't watch it live, but I watched it later. And overall, my opinion, I think it was a good Q&A. There were a couple of things where I just went, what? Did he just say that? But overall, I think it was good. It got a lot of hate, and I think that's because Ian didn't really talk about PvP stuff. But he's not a PvP designer, as he stated in the Q&A. So it makes sense for him not to talk about PvP because, well, he doesn't know an awful lot about the state of development of PvP, I would imagine. So Ian, what do you think about the new Battleground? Should we get a new Battleground? Yeah, the Battleground, the thing that is a battle on a ground where you fight other players. Yeah, I don't really know. I'm too busy designing a 13-boss raid, So it kind of makes sense for him to talk about PvE. It would be cool if we could get another dev that would talk about PvP, because PvP people are really getting shafted in Warlords. And it would be really good to get another Q&A with a PvP dev instead. So he can answer some questions and then probably cry from all the shouting in the chat. I don't know. But overall, I think it was good. And to be honest with you, I was looking for one thing with this Q&A. And that thing is Ian happy with the current state of the game or not? And from the Q&A, I would say that he is not. He is more excited about 6.2, and he's talking about how they're fixing things. But overall, with 6.0 and 6.1, I don't think he's very happy with the state of the game, which is a good thing. Because if they know that there is something wrong with the game, they're going to fix it. It would be much worse if he just started the Q&A and went, no, you are all a bunch of wankers. That's not true. The game is perfect. We don't have to fix the damn thing. No, he just went, with dungeons, not that great. Reputations are pretty bad. And, he just admitted that they fucked up, which is a very good thing from a lead designer. Because that means that better things are coming. They will try to fix stuff. There were, however, a couple of things that what? Like the Warlock thing. Why are you nerfing Demonology Warlocks? And the TLDR version is, well, Affliction is cool, Destruction is cool, but everyone's playing Demonology, and Demonology is really hard. Because, and you better sit down, you have to use an add-on. An add-on! Oh my god! And it's really hard, you have to learn things and do things, and you have to use buttons. Ha! It's too hard, and people have to go outside of the game and read things. We don't want people doing that, so we just nerf them to the fucking ground so they're not worth playing. What? What kind of an answer is that? Like, the class is too hard to learn, so you nerf it to the ground so it's not worth playing, so people don't have to bother with downloading an add-on and reading things outside of the game? Just... What the fuck is that? And the other thing that really boggled my mind was when Ian was talking about class design, boss design, and ability pruning, where he feels like they didn't go far enough with some classes with ability pruning, which is kind of odd. I think they went too far with certain classes. But the really odd thing was when Ian said, well, when you're fighting a training dummy, we're trying to make it so that it's not engaging, essentially. Alright, when you're doing a single target rotation and you're fighting a training dummy, it shouldn't be interesting. The interesting part should come from the boss. And at that point I was like, ugh, I was talking about this in a video, Ian. When you take an Arms Warrior, a spec that's really boring and simple, on single target, what you're doing is you keep your rend up. Okay, don't forget about rend. Because every warrior in the world wanted rend back, right, guys? And then you Colossus Smash, you Mortal Strike once, and then you Whirlwind, and when the boss is below 20%, you can execute. It's really boring. It is really boring, right? And you take this Arms Warrior, and you put him up against Gruul, which is essentially, move away from the smash! You dodge the smash? Awesome, have loot. That's Gruul. It's a boring class with a boring rotation versus a boring boss, and that results in a bored player. And I will admit that on paper, it sounds better. Right? If the interesting part is your rotation, well, that doesn't really change all that much, so you don't have too much variety. But if the interesting part is the boss, well, bosses change all the time, so you do have more variety. But unfortunately, not every single boss is interesting for every single class. And where previously you would encounter a boring boss, you still had snapshotting, you had an intricate rotation, and it was fine. Now it's just, oh, Mortal Strike in 3, 2, 1. Yeah, Mortal Strike. Fuck yeah. Let's wait 10 seconds for another one. Does that sound interesting? I don't think so. Especially with this type of boss design where usually one half of the raid is off doing something interesting and important, like on Maidens, and the other half is just sitting there not doing much. If you're not doing much, if you're in that part of the raid and you're something like an arms warrior, you're just standing there and you're mortal striking every 10 seconds. That's all you're doing. So I don't know about that. As I've said, on paper it sounds better, but in practice, when you're actually doing it, I don't think so. One thing I do agree with is that they need to make specs and classes feel more like those specs and classes. You know, if you're a fire mage, you need to feel like a fire mage. If you're a feral druid, you need to feel like a feral druid. If you're a blood death knight, you need to feel like a blood death knight. So I'm really looking forward to what they're going to do with it. How are they going to make those specs and classes feel more like those specs and classes? Because it's really important, at least for me. You know, if I'm a balanced druid, I need to feel like a balanced druid. Not a mage with a bunch of feathers glued to him, you know. But yeah, overall I think Ian handled the Q&A very well outside of those two things, which I just don't think that's the right way to go. But hell, I'm just the one dude, so what the hell do I know? But he was very knowledgeable. I really liked the way he explained things, like with the flying, where he basically said, you know, we weren't really sure if we want to do that, if we want to add flying or not. And when we finally decided that we will never have flying in the upcoming expansions, the word never triggered people, where they realized that, oh shit, maybe we want flying going forward. So, you know, it was just good. I think it was good. I don't know why people hate it so much. I was actually really happy with the way the interview went. Like with Garrisons, you know, Ian pretty much said that they had a great idea, that Garrisons should have been awesome, but they executed them poorly. And that's pretty much, you know, what I think. Garrisons are a good idea, but they were executed poorly. Or I really like the way he explained the Time Walker stuff, why it's only available as an event. Because, well, you want people, obviously, to do your current dungeons. And you want people to do the Time Walker stuff. But if you put better items into the Time Walker dungeons, people aren't going to do the current content. And vice versa, if there is better stuff in the current dungeons, people aren't going to do the Time Walker stuff. So in order to put better items into the Time Walker stuff, they had to make them an event. Boom. Bish bash bosh. Bob's your uncle. Very good explanation, in my opinion. I also really like the fact that they touched on the Discipline Priest thing. Alright, so if you have one healer priest in the raid, he should be disciplined. And if he's not, well, he's just doing it wrong. And you are all doing it wrong for not telling him and pushing him to go disc. That's obviously an issue, although I would like to see this question to be expanded to the healer teams in general. Because right now we have a huge problem with Mythic, where for pretty much every single boss, the preferred healer setup is to have a Discipline Priest, 2 Holy Paladins, and then probably a Shaman because of Spirit Link Totem. And I'm not saying you can't take something like a Resto Druid. Hey, I'm a Resto Druid and I've killed pretty much everything except for Black Hand in Blackrock Foundry Mythic. But, you know, it's a problem if you want to have a really efficient healer setup. 3 out of 4 spots are taken by Discipline Priest and Paladins. That's not good. Another good thing is that they're trying to fix professions, because professions right now are not professions pretty much. All it is you are circling work orders until you have enough X and you create an item. So they are increasing the amount of stuff you can make outside of work orders, and also there is Fell Blight, so people have to go out and do mining or skinning or herbalism, which is just good. And it's really good to see that they know that professions are really bad and they need to do something about them to make them feel like professions again. And the last thing is the discussion on this 6.1 patch and the fact that they should have called it 6.0.5. Yes, they should have. It was an alright patch. You know, they worked on it through the holidays and it wasn't very good. There wasn't too much content. But because they called it 6.1, people expected a ton of content like we got previously with the 0.1 patch. Alright, so as I've said in the beginning and throughout this Q&A, I think it was good. I think it was handled very well. And yeah, I think people are angry about it because Ian didn't really talk about PvP. But as I've said, Ian is not a PvP designer. I was also very happy that Ian admitted that they tend to overreact quite a bit with Mr. Pandaria, too many daily quests. Well, we're going to give you no daily quests for Warlords, that kind of stuff. They swing the pendulum too far to the other side. I was really happy that he admitted that. And overall, I just think it was good. People are angry, people don't agree with him, but at least he's honest. It's better than, if he was lying to us. He's honest. He's like, okay, we fucked up. We're sorry. We're going to try and fix it. And that's good, in my opinion. So I thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.